All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us today. I see many new people that are connecting now with us for today's webinar. Once we give the opportunity for more people to join. I see many of them are joining just now. In the meantime, thank you for joining us today for another Skillman webinar on creating effective innovative ecosystems. Today we'll be looking at the key elements that contribute for an effective innovation ecosystems in Tibet, and we'll be hearing about regional good practices on how to boost innovation ecosystems through skills. The event is organized by Skillman with the contribution and collaboration of the Assembly of European Regions. So as usual, I would like to thank all these wonderful women for their efforts in the organization of the webinar. And also I would like to thank our panelists and our moderator, Sandra Evans, that joined us today and that will be at the center of the stage in just a minute. My job today is just to give you the main instructions for the time that we'll be spending together, and I'll be introducing Skillman as the main organizer of today's event. So first of all, as you see, this is a message for the audience. So as you see, your microphones are muted and your cameras are off. So we suggest that all the participants will keep at this standard and on default muted and with the cameras off. Please feel free to ask your questions and add your comments in the chat box. So later in the second part of the webinar, we will have the panel discussion and we'll be addressing all your questions and comments to the speakers at that time. So don't hesitate to do it. We have the privilege today of having professionals that will be sharing their experience and their knowledge with us. So ask as many questions as you can, try to interact as much as you can, because it's the right time to do it. Moving on, my name is Valentina De Vico. I am the communication manager of Skillman. Some of you might know me already. I'll be here with you today throughout the whole webinar. From my side, I would just like to mention that today's webinar is not actually a solo webinar, but it's part of a series of digital events that we have been implementing on EU funds opportunities. We have been implementing them with the Assembly of European Regions with the objective of establishing partnerships among the participants and the panelists, and designing proposals of future EU projects. So those are networking activities that we have been implementing with the objective of creating partnerships. The main organizer of those events, together with the Assembly of European Region, is Skillman. So I think it's relevant for me to give a very brief introduction of what is Skillman. Skillman is an international network, manufacturing in the advanced manufacturing sector. It has no implication of gender, so it's just a skill man. It's an international network of different stakeholders, mainly TBET providers, universities, industries, individuals, and policymakers. And the network is basically focused on skills research and training, of course, in the advanced manufacturing sector. So we try to introduce and exchange skills to help stakeholders cope with the new challenges of the labor market today. I'm just sharing with you a few highlights of what we have been achieving in 2020. So now we have 600 plus members coming from 300 regions of 93 countries of the world. So we have a very global coverage of our members. If you have been following us, you know that we regularly organize those webinars for different, with different, let's say, objectives. But if you want, you can follow us and be with us in the upcoming months, because we regularly have different webinars. We have now 4 peer learning clubs that are groups of experts. And so if you want to continue in the discussion of today's topics, you are more than welcome to join our 4 peer learning clubs. Now I'm going to share with you more information about it. So this is a geographical coverage of our members. As you see, it's very broad, and it's not only Europe-centered, but it's a global network. So we try to involve all the countries on all continents in the world. Our activities as Skillman Network are embedded in the Skillnet project, a co-funded project by the European Commission that is aimed at implementing a strategy to develop a network of centers of vocational excellence. Again, the Assembly of European Regions is one of our partners in this project, and then we also cooperate with the International Vocational Education and Training Association, IVETA, April, another association, and then the European Training Foundation, with whom we regularly organize these kind of activities. I will just finish my intervention with an invitation to all the participants that are interested, of course, in the topics that will be addressed. That we'll be addressing today. So, if you want to keep on with the discussion around those topics, please join our peer learning clubs. My coworker Julia is sharing with you the link to access those platforms. We'll be discussing 4 different topics that you see on your screen right now. We have more than 200 people involved, so we hope that we can continue in the discussion of these topics. I want to remind all of you that we are streaming live on YouTube. So if you want to follow us on our streaming channel, it's the Skillman.eu YouTube channel. Again, Julia is sharing with you the link. And last but not least, let us know what you think about the webinar. Your opinion is very valuable to us in order to improve further and further. So we'll be sharing a screen in the chat box. Please take 1 minute of your time to tell us what you think about the organization of this webinar. Now, with pleasure, I would like to introduce to you the moderator of today's session, Sandra Evans, the Associate Professor of University Tübingen. The floor is completely yours, Sandra. If you want, you can take the floor. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Valentina. Yeah, also from my side, welcome to this webinar on creating effective innovation ecosystems. Of course, I'm honored to moderate this panel and the set of very topical webinars enabling multi-stakeholder approaches to help build more innovative societies. As Valentina said, my name is Sandra Evans from the University of Tübingen in the state of Baden-Württemberg in southern Germany. And I am the coordinator of the Interreg Europe project called ACCEL, which stands for Accelerating SME Innovative Capacities with the Living Lab approach. And this, our aim is to sensitize not only SMEs, but also policy decision makers towards the benefits of living lab approach or user-centered innovation practices or activities. But I'm also at the university part of the Lebensphasenhaus, which is an innovation infrastructure on the topic of independent living and aging in place. And around this innovation infrastructure over the years, we have been trying to build a local quadruple helix innovation ecosystem, and which means that we wanted to bring stakeholders, right, from the research, from the political realm, from industry and private companies, but also the public, to the proverbial table to together collaborate and develop sustainable, relevant social and technological solutions for and also with the end users. And I think, as everybody probably is aware or has the same experience, is it's not an easy feat to bring everybody that we need for the one needs for the innovation to the table. But to follow the overall topic of this webinar, asking the question, what makes innovation ecosystems effective? Maybe I'd like to use the COVID-19 pandemic as an example to illustrate how Corona crisis was an incredible driver for innovation, and especially in the health and care sector. It provided a considerable boost for digitalization, but I think not only in the health and care sector. What the pandemic has also showed is that governments and private companies were able to effectively work together to produce and certify vaccines in record time. So a couple of points I want to point out, I think, that are really important for an effectiveness in innovation is, I think it's elemental to foster a problem-oriented culture and starting with the needs, right? Too often there's still, the technology push mentality versus the market pull. So using this user-centered and outcome-based approach will help guide innovation activities by better understanding the actual needs and demands, which helps to better match supply and demand, which will in turn increase efficiency and effectiveness in the innovation process. But I think what's beyond that, what's also important, is to include policy decision makers in this process and help them, or it's important for them to better understand the innovation process as such, starting from the ideation via prototyping, testing, validation, and market entry. I mean, there are different types of methodologies in the different phases that are required, but not only the methodologies to keep developing these, social and technological innovations forward, but also funding instruments. There's a whole type of innovation management that should go along with it, and that should be orchestrated, right? And to be able to provide optimal framework conditions. But anyway, those are some initial thoughts from my side. And without further ado, I do want to transition into the main part of this webinar and introduce our panelists for today very briefly. I think most of you have probably seen the program, but we will start off with Aboutarno Morrison. He is a thematic expert on research and innovation at Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform. He will talk about the skills for innovation and how to boost them. Next one will be Agneta Kardos from the Timish County Council. She will speak about the interregional cooperation, the benefits that come from that, and how that boosts innovation ecosystems. And last but not least, we have Christiane Egger, who is the Deputy Manager of the Energy Agency of Upper Austria, and she will share the experience of Upper Austria in the energy transition. So I think, it's now time to give the floor to Arno.
Thank you very much, Sandra, for this introduction. Thank you very much, Valentina, also for the invitation. Let me share my screen. There we go. So thank you. I'm very happy to be here. I think it's a very topical topic of creating effective, innovative ecosystem. Of course, it's a challenging task. I don't have all the answers, but I will try to give you some helpful recommendation in order to do it. So my name is Aboutarno Morrison. I'm one of the thematic experts in research and innovation at the Policy Learning Platform. So the Policy Learning Platform is the second pillar of Interreg Europe, and what we try to do is capitalizing on all the knowledge and the good practices coming from Interreg Europe projects. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to speak about 5 policy recommendations from actual policy practices in different Interreg Europe projects. So first, let me a little bit tell you what the Policy Learning Platform can do for you. We can help you in many different ways. We have plenty of different services. You can have a look at the good practice database to get inspired to make better policy making and policies. We wrote 2 policy briefs, one on skills for innovation, the other one on innovation in less developed regions. So all the recommendations I'm going to give you are coming from those policy briefs. So I encourage you to have a look at them. You can also subscribe to our policy digest to get like the latest news and policies from the Policy Learning Platform. And we also organize peer reviews. So one of the last peer reviews that we organized was on sector prioritization S3 in Vestland County in Norway. But I mean, we will be more than happy to organize peer review in your region regarding one policy challenges that you might have regarding creating better innovative ecosystem. So let's move to recommendation. I've got 5 recommendations, trying to be quick here. So the first one is to say that although there is no one size fits all policy recommendation, I think there is one that I can give is first, you need to understand your regional institutional context. So that's the first step, is really understand what is about in your regions, to understand and assess your specific institutional context in order to design and implement the most appropriate place-based innovation policies. So it's first to ask what is the regional weaknesses and how to address them. And in the EU, we are very lucky because we have this policy concept, policy framework that does just that. Is the smart specialization strategy. So where you can, through evidence-based approaches, trying to understand what's your regional institutional context, what are the strengths, what are your weaknesses. And here I would recommend to have a look at the S3 platform, giving like a lot of resources on smart specialization strategy. One example coming from policies. So in one of our Interreg Europe projects, we had like this region in Slovakia. They were like in coal mining regions, but declining. So they started to move towards like new industries. So they had to look at what were their strengths, weaknesses, what were the skills in the regions. And then they went to move into the railway sector. So it's a good example of economic diversification in a European region. So here you have, I think you will have the presentation, so you can have a look at all the links. The second recommendation is to promote technology diffusion and deployment. So it's not, not all the regions have the capacities to be at the frontier of technological development. And a good way to start is to promote technology diffusion, because we know it's the greatest way to improve innovation in the fastest way. Here, 2 examples. So we have the European Digital Innovation Hubs, like this program to promote digital skills diffusions and so on. And we also organized in Bulgaria one peer review, and here was to look at centers of competence and centers of excellence and how to promote university industry collaboration and interregional linkages. So, you know, the centers of competence, they can also like promote fast way skills and new technological diffusion coming from abroad to diffuse in the regional institutional context. The third recommendation here, and I think one of the speakers is going to speak about it, is more like to promote interregional learning and collaboration. So not only for SMEs, very important, but also for the public sectors, learning about good practices coming from its inter-regular project, for instance, and capture like external knowledge from frontier regional leaders in technology and so on. So looking at regions with similar challenges, policy challenges or similar issues that you are facing. A good example from inter-regular project here is from the project F3 for Growth. It's like the Basque Country. They introduced this interregional innovation voucher for SMEs. So within like the Digital Innovation Hub program, so SMEs could, because they're not doing everything in the Basque Country, they could like go, you know, like for instance, like artificial intelligence in a specific regions, the region that is a leader in artificial intelligence. So the SMEs could apply for this voucher to go to another digital innovation hubs, or like in priority sectors, or in regions involved in vanguard initiatives, so manufacturing industries. Fourth recommendation here is more like to promote this kind of entrepreneurial mindsets and startups. So we know that many regions, they have like cultural and institutional barriers to become entrepreneurs, to the creation of innovative companies. I mean, some of them are risk aversion, status quo, norms, you know. So here, two inter-regular projects and good practices, one from Greece and one from Estonia in Tartu. They were promoting this kind of festivals, events, those kind of networking opportunities for local startups to go and connect and see that innovation is actually possible in those regions. So to offer like this annual events, only talking about innovation, startups, and entrepreneurial mindset can be a really driver to promote those kind of mindset and culture and so on. And the last policy recommendation here is more related to skills. And here is about like to form like a regional task force for regional skills assessment and anticipation. So trying to think, you know, bringing like quadruple helix stakeholders together, trying to think what will be the skills of tomorrow. What do we need to prepare and assess the skill set that we will need in 10, 15 years and prepare for it, you know, not only at vocational schools, universities, and trying to really do that. This is what one good practices from Slovakia. They did just that. They did like foresight exercises, bringing like quadruple helix together, university, vocational schools, and trying to think of how to prepare for the skills, because the skills of tomorrow are going to be very different from the skills of yesterday. And we have seen that with COVID-19 and the need to adapt to do what we are doing right now with this webinar, for instance, instead of having a real meeting. So if you like those 5 recommendations, I have much more recommendation in the policy briefs. So I recommend you to have a look at them. You can go on the Inter-Europe Policy Learning Platform website and have a look at our recommendation in skills for innovation and innovation in less developed regions. So thank you very much. That's all from me. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send us like a policy help desk. We would be very happy to answer and give you like good practices that we have. Or you can shoot me an email. This is my email here. And that's it for me. And thank you very much again for your invitation. I leave you the floor, Sandra.
Yes. Oh, no, thank you so much. I think those are really wonderful, very to the point, easy to follow and actionable recommendations with nice examples, which also helps, further get a better grasp of what, what could be done and to really actually implement them. But anyway, next we have Agneta Kardosh from the Timiș County Council, who will speak about, the benefits of interregional learning, interregional exchange, and how that can boost innovation ecosystems. So Agneta, if you're ready, looking forward to your contribution. You need to unmute yourself.
I thought I already did. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity on addressing some thoughts about how interregional cooperation can contribute on creating effective innovation ecosystems at regional level. My name is Agneta Kardosh, as mentioned by Sandra, and I'm working in interregional cooperation ever since '96 for Timiș County Council. That's a NUTS-3 region in Romania. It's a border region and really, really very active in interregional cooperation. What I will do today, I will show you 4 handpicked examples on interregional cooperation in projects on health and social, in health and in social care. Why that? Because it's showing in time how that can really add value to the local regional ecosystem, and you don't have to believe me, you can see the examples, so you probably can check that later on. So I will start. Just a moment. My computer is telling me that I don't have enough energy. Just okay, hopefully that will be fine. So, sorry for that. I don't. Bagă-te rugăm, please, no? Că n-am energie. Ala negru, So, what is the aim of interregional cooperation? As I said already, it has to develop an ecosystem locally, but also internationally as well. The 4 projects I will show you today is the People Project that was launched in 2008. And it was triggered by the challenge of aging society, which is a problem throughout Europe, and active and healthy aging is something that is important for all of us. The next project I will present to you was launched in 2012. It was called CASA. It continues the same topic as regions for smart living. And 2016 PAH 5 project is somewhat different from the previous 2 because this project is not a European funded project. It's funded by the German Ministry for Economy, and it was actually a project that aimed developing research and development projects, European funded projects, and aimed somewhat the same as Interreg, the mutual learning between regions, and driving innovation towards Eastern countries from the Western ones. The last project was already mentioned by Sandra in her at the beginning of this webinar, Excel project. It's an ongoing project still. And as was mentioned, it focuses on the living lab approach for innovation at regional level. In MAH project and in Excel project, both the leading partner was Tübingen University. So with Sandra, we have a long-term collaboration. People project started, the ecosystem at that time was, let's say, the regional, at regional level, the linear system. If you still remember, means actually that from research centers, from university, the research result was disseminated towards the economy, towards SMEs. And actually, it quite evolved ever since to nowadays, when we are talking about quadruple and even quintuple helixes. As the People project focused on the changes in society by aging population with all the problems, but also the opportunities as well, because silver economy is more and more more important for economies throughout the world, and active, healthy aging, in-place aging, as in the living limbs house Sandra mentioned before as well, is quite important for a lot of us, especially in Europe. The next project, CASA project, as mentioned, launched in 2012. Both projects financed by Interreg 4C, the precursor of today's Interreg Europe, is continuing this topic of aging population. And the aim with this project was actually to decrease the pressure on health and social care budgets of regions, and especially of our regions. You have to know that our budget, more or 50% of the budget is going to social assistance and childcare, so quite a big chunk of it. As a result of these two projects, the first one at regional level produced and boosted SMEs to have e-health applications, apps, and as we are talking within a Skillman webinar, I have to point out that there is a very interesting open education form, Educateme, that involves children at all ages. I mean, even children at primary school, teaching them IT programming and IT construction, in ITC, everything connected to ITC. And these children and these people are producing really, really very remarkable results. CASA project brought a nice solution to some of our issues in health, especially in remote rural areas, because some of the NGOs, local regional stakeholders involved in the project made some applications, and they managed to provide via telemedicine applications health services, not only to our region, Timiș, but also the neighboring region in Karaš-Severin. The next project, MACH project, as mentioned, funded by the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research, and focused on establishing and promoting, creating local ecosystems, innovative ecosystems, increasing technology transfer and innovation in eastern regions, meaning Slovakia and Romania. In Romania, we had Covasna as well as partner, not only Timiș. You have to know, but by this point, we are already talking about a smart specialization strategy. One of our first smart specialization strategies were in place already, and we are talking from linear innovation ecosystems already about triple helix innovation ecosystems. So only from a few years, yes, from 2008 up to 2016, from a linear ecosystem, innovation ecosystem, we are already at triplex helix innovation ecosystem. And for the present day, Excel, that was already mentioned by Sandra, and it is still ongoing, so it's something not closed yet. It's based on developing open innovation ecosystems in health and by a living lab approach. Here we already experiencing quadruple helix approach in the innovation ecosystem, and hopefully, although we don't have living labs in health in Timiș, hopefully following this project we will experience such a living lab in Timiș as well. We have living labs, although they are not focused on health or social care. We are really a strong university center, so research, especially in ICT, medicine, agriculture, are really strongly developed in Timiș, and these are the drivers of our innovation ecosystems, actually. You have to know that in 2015, a very important research center was created by European funding. It is called Oncogen, and it focuses on gene therapy. So it's top medical research facility, and is the only center of its kind in Europe. So we are developing, we are having top research facilities in health as well, only not living labs. So as a conclusion, what could I say? We, as a region in Timiș, we have no competencies in health. So the Ministry of Health is the one supervising every decision and every policy making. And at regional level, we have no competencies. But setting goal and finding a way and persevering, we helped via these and several other projects as well. You have to know these are not the only projects we are developing. We managed to create a regional ecosystem that is built now on trust. It opened communication channels and built up working relationships, even a good network. People are working much more together than before, even if it's informal, and it's much easier to start to do something together than before in 2008, for example, or in 2006 when we tried to start a working group on e-health. That was a failure for us, a lesson learned. So what we learned via these projects, that we can get inspired, that we can learn, and everyone can do that. So results are not coming immediately. So if someone waits just an instant result or instant gratification, please don't do that, because it will not come, but long-term benefits will be there. So be patient. And more talking about European policies, it's an added value that via these regional cooperations, actually cohesion between partners and regions are promoted. You have to know, or maybe you know already, but you can remember that the regional innovation system is favored on European level, especially after the Lisbon Treaty, because via many European funds, but especially the European structural funds, are devoted to creation or enhancement of the local regional innovation system. And what Aboutarno Morrison mentioned before, I can recommend this policy learning platform as well. We are using it on a not daily basis, but very often. And I can say that I was there when it was launched at one European Week of Regions and Cities. So thank you for your kind attention. You can reach me at this contact data or in the chat. I'm available for your questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Agneta. I think for this very insightful presentation about your activities, because I do think it was a really nice demonstration, since 2008, also how the nature, but also the terminology maybe even has changed, within the same thematic area. And it has, it's really, showed how it has changed and how the innovation activities become much more complex, I suppose. But I think, it's indeed important to keep at it, and also that it's really nice or important to keep this dialogue going and to build the relationships, and that it needs a certain framework and a certain type of support from a more of a public entity to engage or to enable this dialogue. But so thank you so much. So if anybody has any questions, continue, or you can please formulate them already in the chat, and we'll collect them after the next presentation, and post them then to the speakers. And so now we will have Christiane Egger, who is the Deputy Manager of the Energy Agency of Upper Austria, and will tell and share their experience with the energy transition. So thank you so much, and the floor is yours.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. Let me now take you to another innovation ecosystem, the one for the energy transition. As you know, one of the key pillars of the recovery will be climate protection. And a key element of climate protection is the energy transition. My name is Christiane Ecker. I'm from the region of Upper Austria. So here you can see one glimpse of the region. And I'll start by saying where it is. It's in northern part of Austria. We are both a very industrial and a rural region with a population of 1.5 million. I work for the Regional Energy Agency, a body funded by the region in the early 90s to promote what we today call the energy transition through a range of services around energy efficiency, renewable energy sources, and innovation. A key pillar in that is our network of businesses, the Cleantech Cluster, which we are a partner in the coordination, which brings the businesses to the table of policy making and implementation, and that is a very important pillar. Now, coming to the energy transition, what is it? It means phasing out fossil fuels, oil, gas, coal, through energy efficiency and renewable energy sources. And the goal is to have climate neutrality by 2050. Now, this is a very, very big transformation that will affect the lives of all citizens, all public bodies, all businesses. So this is not going to happen somewhere in an infrastructure also there, but this will be a key transformation process for the coming years. At the back of this is the EU Green Deal. I'm sure you are familiar with the basic principle. It's a very, very complex and major policy package prepared by the Commission that is now being stepwise implemented across a range of policy fields. What I want to stress here is that 75% of all greenhouse gas emissions in Europe have to do with energy. So as important as transport, as agriculture and materials decarbonization is, keep that number in mind because it is quite critical that also this is being tackled. Now the question is, in such a big transformation, what can regions do? My region is a long-term member of the AER, so this is always the focus of our activities. And how can we turn this challenge into an opportunity? And why? It starts always with the why we should do this, because the energy transition helps us create local jobs and investments. It supports our competitiveness and innovation. It brings more modern infrastructure and empowers our citizens, and it also helps with climate protection. That is why the region of Upper Austria has decided to be a European leader in this transformation. And based on our understanding that this energy transition brings us competitiveness and quality of life, we need to tackle buildings, manufacturing, and transport. And for that, we need innovation, investments, and involvement of public bodies and citizens and businesses. We have already progressed quite far. So we managed to decrease greenhouse gas emissions from building by more than a third in the last 10 years. And already today in our region of 1.5 million people, every year, more than 2 billion euro are invested in the energy transition, in energy efficiency, and in renewables. So this is not something that will happen one day in the future. This is happening today. And this is also the promise here that this could also happen in your regions. So how are we doing this? We use an approach, a policy approach that I call carrot sticks. You're probably familiar with that. So carrot is financial incentives, sticks is regulatory requirements, the tambourines is the information, awareness raising, and everything that starts in people's minds. But we also now, because we need to be faster, a skateboard. And the skateboard is the innovation, because innovation helps us to speed up the whole process. Now, for that, we have an innovation ecosystem here in the region, in the energy field. In a very simple graph, our organization at the center of this. So there is the technology companies, There is a community of early adopters that would help us test and roll out innovation. And there is the topic of today, training and R&D bodies that are, of course, also a pillar in that network. Now, how are these actors interlinked? There are 3 links. One is money that flows from the region to the different actors. One is information that flows between the actors, and one is education. And as you see, it's also one of the glues that holds together the innovation ecosystems. And on the right-hand side, just some examples. We have a dedicated program for renewable heat installers. We train eco-energy engineers at our University of Applied Science. And my organization also runs an energy academy that provides ongoing vocational training. Now, so this is the innovation ecosystem in the smaller sense, but obviously it's embedded in a much, much wider ecosystem network that we see as our role to be the glue and to make sure that all the important elements of the ecosystems interact with each other. Now, so this is a little bit the innovation ecosystem. If we speak about innovation, it's also quite important to keep in mind the value chain. So here we have the value chain for building and energy technologies. And you see it goes from research to operation and maintenance, and there is innovation across the value chain in both directions. And this is quite important and different from the past. And to conclude, I would like to invite you to a large annual conference. The AER is also a partner in that event. It will be held in June if you're interested in the energy transition. It is a hybrid event, so maybe most of you could join online. And there is also, as we are here, also linked to a network on industrial, that we also have an industrial energy efficiency conference, and I'll be happy to share this link with you later in the chat. Thank you very much, and I hope you will have some questions. Thank you.
Excellent, Christiane. Thank you so much for also very timely and very, let's say, illustrative example of what you were going through. I really love that visual of the carrot stick and the tambourine and the skateboard. I think that's a lovely visual, just to kind of add, what's in addition necessary now, and also pointing to, of course, the importance of the network and the network in communication with the policy decision makers. But anyway, I think we should head to the questions right away. I don't know if there are any questions in the chat, but I think maybe a good one might be to start off with, to all 3 speakers. I think it would be good if we can go through, and if you, from your side, from your perspective, maybe have 3 words that describe what is needed to build an effective innovation ecosystem. I'm going to start with Arnaud, or anybody else who's got some ideas. Or
that's a very difficult question, Sandra.
I know, sorry. But it's an interesting one.
Yeah, of
maybe
course.
Just one word, or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would go back to my first policy recommendation, is really understand your institutional context and really build things from it, and identify skills that needed, that don't exist yet in your region, and try to really get what are the weaknesses in order to address them through policy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems really, really important to have the communication and understanding of what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very basic, broad policy recommendation, but I think it's super important, and many regions, they don't take the time to really do it. So yeah.
Yeah, but I think what comes on top of that is that multi-stakeholder part. Because communication is extremely important, but also extremely difficult with people from different, areas of expertise and interest and whatever. So I think, as you said, that very basic part of communication seems, redundant, but it's so important. But anyway, Agneta or Christiane?
I only can subscribe to all of that you said before, Arnaud, but experience taught me as well that if you as a region, I mean administrative organization, so-called policymaker, more or less, even if there is at one point of history no cooperation or no communication channel, or not even a slightest sign of whatever developing in one area, it's maybe not because of lacking of knowledge, of lacking of expertise, but especially lacking of communication and cooperation. And Sandra already pointed out that yes, finding the common language takes time, patience, perseverance. Please never give up if it's not coming together for the first time. Try a different approach, try a different way. We failed as well for the first time, and we tried to communicate with our health let's say regional stakeholders from this area, because everyone we are preoccupied with our own businesses, we have all full schedules, and when someone is trying to put you on a table together to a table and say, let's sit together and talk, then that will be the last on your list, and you will not put it on your prioritized topic. But if you find a common topic and you manage to put a time frame on that, then the chances to put them on at the same table will increase, and eventually in this time frame you set, you may be finding as well a common communication. Not always, it's not a guarantee, but it can happen. So yes, and small steps. Do it once, do it twice. As long as you see development in the right direction and in where you want it to obtain results, then do it. If it's not working, look around. Regions are doing things differently. Learn from them. Try to make shortcuts and to avoid the same mistakes, because you will do anyway your own mistakes. So please don't repeat anyone's mistake as well. So regional cooperation, learning from each other, saving time, money, very important, because lessons learned, it's meaning that everyone is asking how much does it cost us to do things. So yes, warmly recommend, cooperate and talk together. Thank you.
Yes, cooperation and dialogue is very important. So yeah, Christiane, maybe from your,
I would say the weaknesses are important, but also the strengths. I think this is quite important. So if you take a cluster-based approach, Porter's clusters, you start with your strengths, and every region has strengths, either be it a wonderful research infrastructure or a wonderful natural resource. So this is, I think, if you want to become really strong and competitive at something, maybe you don't start with the area you're already weakest. So that is something, so take where you're already good and try to become among the best. This is also what the European smart specialization strategy actually aims at. Clearly, you have to analyze where are your weaknesses, that is clear. The second is you need someone whose job it is to do all that communication and to be that glue, as I call it, to hold the innovation ecosystem together. So usually people working directly in the public service are very busy with their daily tasks. So maybe you have an agency, you have an organization, or you can create a job for someone in the administration, because this is not going to happen on its own. It has to be someone that keeps pushing, and try to reconnect. Agneta mentioned very busy. Everyone is really busy. So you have to offer something that make people put it higher up on their agenda. And what is helpful is to create a vision and a goal that people can identify and then work towards.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Christiane. I think those are all also very important and good tips on what to keep in mind. We're short in time, but I think it might be good if it's okay for everybody. We do have a question from the audience. And maybe just really quick. The question is if the speakers can elaborate on how the discussed ecosystem impact on skills, qualifications, upskilling needs, development of occupational standards can be implemented, or don't know. What kind of skills or upskilling needs are needed for ecosystems?
So maybe I can start quickly, because we have given this a lot of thought, and because clearly it will differ from field to field. I would say in many fields we need lots of engineers with a dedicated on top of their existing education and upskilling. So I think a lot in an innovation ecosystem is about upskilling people with existing skills. That is one thing. The second is most regions have vocational training schools. This is maybe the easiest to impact. It's always the part of the education system you're in charge of yourself. If you have to wait for someone in the capital to change curricula, that's always not so easy. So try to see whether you have any educational tools in your own hands as a region that you can change faster. And then work with the business sector. I know that sometimes public administration find that difficult, but the business sector often has a very good insight into what kind of skills they need on the market.
Great, thanks. Any other?
Yeah, just to say a few words. I mean, we know that human capital is key to develop innovative ecosystem, but at the same time, you know, if you don't have an innovative ecosystem, let's think about south of Italy, where they have a good universities and human capital being built. So this feedback and mechanism between the innovation ecosystem and the human capital and upskilling and so on. So policy must address like both in order to really promote innovation and economic growth and so on.
Excellent, thank you for that input. If there aren't any other comments, maybe I think it was a really good and a very nice discussion that we had, or with lots of insights and impulses and inspiration on what to keep in mind in making innovation ecosystems effective. And I think what came out, I think one of the prominent ones was the dialogue. Was the connection, was that having a better understanding of what you need to do, what strengths, what weaknesses do you have in your region to be able to adequately respond to that. The other one is, I think, also just to have a mission, with that dialogue, to, together, as in Austria, you have a plan, you have a goal that you want to achieve by 2050. And also, of course, a strategy is important that you can dock onto and create some kind of a form of orientation. But I think it was also here nice that we had, the energy sector, but also the health and care sector. And I think it became also important obvious that we are in a way facing similar issues. So I think also there we can learn from each other in the different sectors. And so yeah, we're out of time, but thank you so much for all of you to be part of this really, like I said, inspiring discussion. And I think Valentina has some closing words
Yes.
or closing remarks.
Yeah, I can take over from here. Thank you very much for the audience for participating today, to join us in this interesting discussion. Thank you, Sandra, for facilitating, for your great facilitation. Thank you to all our panelists, Arnaud, Christian, and Agneta. Thank you very much for being here. AER, the Assembly of European Region, for organizing the webinar. From my side, it's just a very quick reminder. So tomorrow morning we'll be live again for another interesting topic to address. Tomorrow we'll be talking about TVET and civic participation. So another very interesting topic to tackle. So you have the link in the chat box if you want to join us for tomorrow's webinar. Having said that, thank you very much all for joining. I wish you all a great day, evening, and night. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.